Okay, let's dive into this. If you're a business leader, chances are you've heard the term SOC 2 tossed around in board meetings. I mean, it's essentially the ultimate badge of trust for your company's data security, right? Or maybe you're feeling the pain right now because a massive enterprise deal is totally stalled out just because you don't have that certification yet. Navigating the whole landscape of SOC 2 compliance vendors, it can honestly feel like walking through a minefield blindfolded. So today's explainer is designed to completely demystify this space for you. We're going to break down exactly how to choose a strategic partner that actually secures your business, rather than someone just trying to sell you a glorified checklist. Here's our roadmap for today. We're looking at Section 1, the high stakes, Section 2, 3 types of partners, Section 3, budgeting for SOC 2, Section 4, Type 1 versus Type 2, and Section 5, avoiding costly selection mistakes. We are moving from the real business risks straight into a highly practical strategy for picking your partner.
So, Section 1, the high stakes. Moving beyond the search bar, this is where we really have to address an incredibly common and honestly dangerous habit that a lot of leaders fall into when they first realize, we need SOC 2 compliance.
So I have to ask you straight up, are you picking a partner or just great SEO? Because look, when you realize you need SOC 2, the absolute first instinct is to ask ChatGPT or just type it into Google and blindly click those top 3 results. But comparing your search results like that is just not efficient. You might literally land on a random company just because they have amazing SEO skills and a massive marketing budget. A slick blog post does not equal great security. You have to ask yourself, are these companies going to actually help your specific setup? You aren't just looking for a vendor, you're looking for a partner with the real, deep expertise required to guide your very unique infrastructure through a super complex journey.
Actually, a really great way to test a potential partner is to ask them a trick question right out of the gate. For instance, ask them, hey, if SOC 2 requires multi-factor authentication and we already have MFA, are we secure? Now, if they just confidently say, yeah, that should be enough, you need to politely end that Zoom call and literally run the other way. The right partner is going to pause. They'll say, well, it depends. What kind of MFA do you have? What about the security of your endpoints? Do you have conditional access policies in place? See the difference? You want a partner who thinks critically about your architecture, not someone who's just there to tick a box and cash a check.
And you need that critical thinking because the financial stakes here are massive. Choosing the right company can literally mean the difference between closing your next huge enterprise deal or watching it slip away to a competitor. I mean, SOC 2 certification costs range anywhere from $20,000 to $150,000. That is a massive spread, and timelines, they can stretch from 6 weeks to over a year. Picking the wrong partner is an outrageously expensive mistake that most growing companies simply cannot afford to make twice. But wait, it's not just the hard dollars you need to worry about. It's the hidden cost. We are talking about the massive drain on your team's focus. Even if you hire an external partner, you should expect your internal team to spend somewhere between 100 and 500 plus hours on evidence gathering, control testing, and coordinating with the auditor. That's a ton of time. And if your partner doesn't know what they're doing, that number absolutely skyrockets, dragging your engineering and IT resources totally away from building your actual product. Let's move to Section 2, 3 types of partners, and see how this builds into categorizing the ecosystem. To make a smart buying decision, you really need to understand the 3 distinct buckets these providers fall into. So, the market is generally split into these 3 categories. First up, we have automation platforms. Think of software like Vanta or Drata. These guys are essentially your monitors. They automate evidence collection, and they'll flag when something is wrong. But, and this is key, they don't fix it for you. They're best if you already have a really solid internal security team. Second, we have consulting firms. These are the builders. They offer hands-on human expertise. They'll assess your architecture, write policies tailored specifically to your business, and actually build out the missing controls. You absolutely need them if you lack internal security resources. And third, CPA audit firms. These are the inspectors. By rule, only licensed CPA firms can actually evaluate your controls and issue that final formal SOC 2 attestation report. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it's rarely a multiple choice question where you just pick one option and you're done. Most companies, especially if you're preparing for your very first SOC 2, actually need to combine human consulting with software automation to succeed. You'd use a consultant to handle the heavy lifting up front, assessing your architecture, building those missing controls, and writing policies that aren't just copy-pasted templates. Then you plug in an automation platform to maintain continuous monitoring and gather that evidence efficiently. Finally, you hand the whole shebang over to the CPA firm to conduct the formal audit. It's really a strategic triad. All right, Section 3, budgeting for SOC2, the financial reality. Let's get radically transparent about what this actually costs, line item by line item.
When you look at this breakdown, you can see exactly how costs snowball based on your complexity. A readiness assessment, which finds your initial security gaps, runs between $5,000 and $15,000. Add in an automation platform subscription, and you're looking at another $6,000 to $20,000 annually. If you need consulting services to actually fix those gaps, expect to pay anywhere from $15,000 to $85,000. And then the audit itself costs anywhere from $7,500 for a simpler Type 1, all the way up to $100,000 or more for a really complex enterprise Type 2. The absolute crucial takeaway here is that hunting for the cheapest possible option up front, like, say, a bargain bin readiness assessment, almost always leads to missing critical gaps. And that leads to a failed audit, hefty re-audit fees, and months of painful delays. So, to give you a very practical baseline, if you are a startup or an SMB with under 200 employees, you need to set a realistic expectation of $30,000 to $80,000 for your total first-year costs. That's encompassing readiness work, any automation tools you use, and the audit itself. Setting this expectation right now prevents nasty sticker shock later and lets you actually budget strategically. Moving right along into Section 4, Type 1 versus Type 2, defining the timeline strategy. You really need to know exactly what kind of timeline and value you're actually buying into before you start. And this brilliantly illustrates the fundamental difference between these two paths. SOC2 Type 1 evaluates your security design at a single, specific point in time. Basically, think of it like taking a photograph. It's fast, taking maybe 1 to 3 months, and it is fantastic if you need a quick proof of compliance to unblock a pending sales deal. On the flip side, Type 2 is the gold standard. It doesn't just look at one day. It evaluates the operating effectiveness of your controls over a 3 to 12-month observation period. It's a movie, not a photograph. It takes much longer, 6 to 18 months total, but it is the true enterprise standard. Honestly, most companies start with Type 1 for that immediate win and then seamlessly roll that momentum directly into a Type 2. Finally, we hit Section 5, avoiding costly selection mistakes, red flags, and final checklist. We've covered the what and the how, so let's wrap by talking about the specific pitfalls you absolutely must avoid. Here are your top 5 red flags. Number 1, choosing based on price alone, which we already know leads to massive hidden costs later. Number 2, this is a huge one, assuming automation replaces security expertise. Look, software will easily identify a misconfigured AWS server, but if your team doesn't actually know how to fix it, you're still stuck. Remember, software is a force multiplier. It is not a substitute for human knowledge. Number 3, starting too late. You literally cannot start 60 days before deadline and expect a Type 2 report. The math just doesn't work. Number 4, ignoring industry fit. If you're in healthcare, you need a partner who understands HIPAA overlap, not just some generalist. And number 5, underestimating the 100 to 500 hours of internal time required from your own team. So, what does this all mean? The crucial point is this. Before you sign a contract with any SOC 2 partner, you have to look inward. Ask yourself, what is your actual current security maturity? If you're starting completely from scratch, you need consultants, not just a software login. What is your unmovable timeline? And what is your total budget, factoring in those internal resource costs? The best partners out there don't just drag you across the finish line of an audit. They help you build an enduring security infrastructure that scales as you grow. So, looking at your own organization right now, honestly, are you genuinely prepared for the intense scrutiny of an auditor, or are you kind of just hoping your current setup is good enough? Think about that as you plan your next move.